Well folks, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to do another repairathon video day. This is going to be a day in the workshop. We done one the last time, but it was like some of the more exciting machines, left out the dull ones. Today we're going to do it a little bit different. This is just going to be every machine I look at today. We're going to do a wee video on all of them and put them all together at the end. So this is going to be one day in the workshop repairing tools, and we're starting off with at least an interesting one. A skill saw. I don't actually get these things here. This is an actual proper skill saw, a worm drive skill saw. These are out of the States. People bring them over all the time. Just stick on a 10 volt plug. The problem is, I can't really get anything for them. It's a simple fix or no fix for these things basically. Brushes, maybe a switch, a leader of plug. Can't really do much more than that. Let's see what's wrong with this one though. Hopefully not much. Well, it runs. Right, that's a great start. What's wrong with it? Right, I'm going to ring the customer and see why he actually left this thing in. Right, good dull one to start the video off on. That's a great start. Customer says it's not working, won't switch on. Obviously that's not the case. So either there's nothing wrong with this and there's something wrong with his transformer, or it's just a worn out set of brushes. So let's see what this is. Yeah, maybe the brushes. And maybe we might be able to fix it because I'm not even sure if I have brushes for this thing. Yeah, they're well worn down. See if I have anything to suit this. I'll just give it a quickly blow out with the compressor as well. If your machine ever stops working on you and you throw it up on the bench to fix it and all of a sudden starts working again, always check the brushes. What happens is these wear out, lose contact, stop working, but never gets a bang then. They move down and they run for a little while. Only a short while, mind you. If you keep hitting it, keeping it running, it'll eventually start arcing and sparking and burn out the armature. So if it stops working, check the brushes. It should normally get it up and running again. I do actually have these brushes though. Well, I think it's these brushes. That's the number there I'm using anyway. They look the same size. It doesn't actually come up on Bosch's website here. Let's see what these things are off. But they look good. Yeah, they're the same. They're a nice big long brush as well. Should get plenty of life out of them. And a good long spring to give plenty of contact. They're just awkward to get in. They really try to fight you, these ones. But they go on in the end. Nice easy start. That should be her. She was running to start with and she'll run the same way now. That's her. Just one set of brushes. At least there actually was something wrong with this one. Sometimes you get them in and there could be a problem with a customer's transformer, because these actually take a yellow step down transformer from 240 to 110. Sometimes the problem with their transformer, they assume it's the tool and they send the tool in, and then they realise the transformer's broken. But it was the brushes this time. Now this is a real old one, an old Kango hammer. Don't get too many of these coming in now. Used to get them all the time, but obviously being an old tool, not as many people have them. But these here were a fantastic machine. Anybody has them probably keeps them because they just run on and on like an old tank. These are an actual Kango, not Kango as in the machine brand Kango. This is a Kango 900 hammer. I'll take it as 900. Somebody's etched off some of the info on it. It's 900 watts, so probably is the 900 hammer. Bit of a mix match as well. Obviously it's been repaired before. It's got the red handle and she's 110 volt power. So it's a 110 volt machine, which normally were red. But then the blue rear handle. They normally had the blue for the 240 volt machine, so this must have had a couple of parts mix matched in the past. We'll see what we can do with this thing. But this is a long shot because most of the parts for it are now obsolete. And even my part supply is starting to dwindle. Some of the bits I have left over are just some of the useless bits that are never used. Don't even think I have a set of brushes for these things now. We'll switch her on and see if she kicks. Might be the switch. She's starting when you release it instead of when you pull the trigger on. But she does continue to run whenever you get her running. I don't even think I have a chisel for this thing. Any old thing just to see if it hits. Yeah, it does. These things used a very heavy grease up in the hammer section, unlike a modern machine which had a more liquid grease. These used a thick stuff, so generally, for the hammer mechanism at least, it lasted a long time before it needed a service. I think you can actually still get service kits for this thing as well. But our problem is the switch. This here is just the lever. It's connected to two pins down here that actually activate the switch down on this side. Now, I still don't know if I can actually fix this because I'm pretty sure I don't have a switch. This thing is old. All the screws are all imperial heads. But hopefully, if it is the switch, we might be able to fix the switch itself, or else adjust it to get better contact maybe. It'll probably run for a little while longer the way it is. Just messing around with the switch to get it to kick on, to start up. But I would say it's going to be more annoying than anything to do that. And when it starts doing this crack, it's generally nearing its end. So if you keep doing it, you're going to burn the switch out, destroy the contacts completely. And you definitely can't fix it because these switches aren't available anymore. So that's all she is. This is just a wee switch on a lever. There's two pins it's connected to. It just pushes the two pins, it pushes on the switch here. So it's just not making good contact. Broke the big long screwdriver as well, the really old Weehaw one. I actually had to reforge it, redo the tip, heat it up and hammer it out flat again just to save her, because I really didn't want to throw it out. So yeah, they know this is on its way out. Look. This has been wired in before under the neutral, so the live has been done away with completely. It's all just through the neutral now. So the switch is feeling. But is there any way to now save it? I was hoping this wasn't making enough travel, or these pins might have been worn out. plenty of the little pins and the plates, but have no switches. And I could really do with a new multimeter lead as well. These things are starting to fall apart on me. I'll have to go shopping on Amazon later. That side actually works. And it's definitely not this. It has to be this thing. Right, we'll chance opening it up, see if we can fix it, or clean up the contact, see if we can get it making better contact. But by the looks of it, this has been done before, look. This wee tab's broken off, look. So that could also be part of the problem. Sometimes it can just be a mistake opening these things too. Like I say, you can't get them anymore. If you mess it up, there's nothing to fall back on. And it's a long time since I opened one. Just mark this so I don't forget. There's a chance we might just have to glue this back together again too. This one here is broken off completely, look. Yeah, there's the ones there, look. A little bit black. What we'll do there, I would say they just actually took out the wrong connector. They pulled out the live and left the neutral wired in direct. I would say it was the neutral that was the problem from the beginning. So if they had taken out the neutral and left the live, it would have ran better. But this is a problem for a start anyway. What we'll do there is just bend this. This just isn't making enough contact now. These are worn away. So literally put a little bend in it. That'll give it enough more travel to make better contact. Let it run a bit better. I'm going to do it very, very high tech as well. Find a dent in the bench and just use the screwdriver. There we go. One little bend. Put that back in. That should make better contact. I'll just quickly wipe these down a bit. there should be okay. No, it came out again. Drop this in first. Also should have failed that recontact. Actually, just will do that. Now you drop that on. There's the tricky bit, getting these back in again now. Yeah, they're not too bad. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to, just to guarantee this stays closed and keeps contact. Just got to pray you don't have to open her up a second time. That's her in place. Now keep her in place. We'll test it before I do that. Seems to be good. Don't put on too much, just in case you glue the whole mechanism together. The hardest bit is getting this top cover back on. You have to compress the sun to move that spring so it's sitting as straight up as possible without pressing it too much and having it just spring apart, because it can just go flying on you. There's two springs, there's one holding this back and there's a spring that's actually working on the lever back down in here. You have to get it on top of the lever, otherwise the spring works on nothing. I think that's going to do the trick. Might even wire in both sides of this again. That's her. Also just stuck on little eyelet connectors instead of just having the bare wire. Gives it a better connection, leaves it a lot neater. And the switch actually just sits into these two little rubber pillars to support it. And the screw has a little shoulder on it. It has this little sleeve, so there's a little bit of play on the switch. The switch isn't actually held down tight. The screw holds the shoulder down tight, so the switch has a little bit of play in it. And that should hopefully be this thing up and running again, with the live and neutral actually switching. Steel and all still inside of this. Hopefully this is all it's actually been sent on for as well, because there's no description on the machine as to what it's been sent on for, and I have no number. If you have no number, you just go with the first obvious fault you find. Does that cure the switch? Will it start first time, or will it do the same thing? Nice one. That's it. One old Kango 900 up and running again. Brilliant machine. Very rarely do they ever fail you, but by God, you knew when you were using them. No dampening whatsoever, no soft springs or rubber dampers to take the vibrations out of your hands. You felt everything with these machines. If you're using one of these things all day long, you would know it in the evening time. Right, now for something a little bit more professional. Or not even more professional, the most professional. This is the most professional tools you're going to get. She's red. Is it a Hilti? Nope. Is she Milwaukee? No. It is literally the most professional. Most professional tools. MPT. Look at this. Most professional tools. Top tip for you. If you're going to design or make tools, don't set your customers' expectations too high, especially if they're going to be easily disappointed. Set them low so they're going to be impressed by the quality. If their expectations are low, set them too high, they're going to be bitterly disappointed. I don't know what the crack with this thing is. MPT Tools. It's a cheap and cheerful brand out of China. Never seen one before, never heard of this before, but a hell of a name to stick in a power tool. This one here, don't know what's wrong with it. Had a quick wee Google online to see what these are like, or see how much they go for. One place on eBay was selling a cordless drill for 300 sterling. You would never pay that kind of money. These are cheap and cheerfuls. This here has been sold on eBay by somebody for £100. Even that's too expensive. AliExpress, $50 buys you this thing here. So sure as hell isn't the most professional tool, but if you're getting that the right money for DIY use, I wouldn't knock cheap and cheerful tools, to be quite honest. Depends who's buying them and what you're using them for. If you're a pro using it all day long, not a hope. If you're somebody at home taking off a few tiles for 5 minutes a day, nothing wrong with it. This, don't know what the story is. It actually works. Cheap and cheerful tools out of China have come on a long way since back in the day. They used to be just basically knockoffs and that. Now they're their own brands, but now they're not all that half bad. They're not the highest quality in the world, but generally they come on at a very good price range, so if you're buying it to suit, they're not a bad option, to be quite honest. I mean, let's face it, you can buy several of these here for the price professional one. Well, if you compare it to the likes of a Bosch, you could probably buy about 10 of these for a price for a Bosch machine. So if you're an amateur or somebody not using it very often, it doesn't really make sense to buy a big professional brand with a big long warranty on it. You're never really even going to need the warranty. It's going to be used very little by the time the warranty is ever needed. So these sometimes just make more sense. If it goes wrong within a year or two, it's cheaper to just buy a new one compared to actually buying, forking it for a big professional one. I wouldn't knock the cheap and cheerful Chinese stuff as long as you're buying it to suit. If you're a professional, you wouldn't be buying like this here. But the question is, what's wrong with us here? She's running. Well, she's not hammering all that well. She hammers when she slows. Yeah, there she goes now. She is hammering. She's not sparking. Oh, maybe that's the problem. That's not coming out. This might be a simple wee fix. Or we hope it is. It would need to be, because you're not going to get parts for this. Parts for these things is just buy another one and keep the old one for parts. Oh, would you come out? Now, right, more serious than I thought. I thought she was just going to be jammed or something in here going wrong, but it looks like it could be the chisel. Maybe. Steel ball's also not coming out. Right, let's get this off completely. I couldn't have been using a drill bit. There we go. That all off. Why is that not coming out? Nor that one. Right, more than likely it's going to be a cheap bit. Wonder if this came as a whole kit or a set or something. The chisel has more than likely mushroomed at the back. So the actual impact bolt at the back hitting the chisel has caused the chisel just round over and mushroom and spread out at the back. So now it actually won't come out of the tool holder. The only way to get it out is, one, dismantle this side and take out the impact bolt. A wee bit more risky, because if you mess it up you can't get any spare parts, so you don't want to do that there. Plus these can be a bit of a torture to put back together again, so don't really want it on that side. The quick and easy option is to get it like this here and then clamp the chisel and the vise, and then use a hammer or a mallet or a cold chisel or something to actually beat the tool holder off the chisel, because clamping this in the vise might not work out as well, and you have nothing to actually beat against this. At least the tool holder, you've got a flat end to actually hit it with a hammer. Now this is where you'll find out how well made it is. This tool holder's soft, you'll know it's just very, very cheap. There we go. Out she pops. One of the balls came out as well. I had to go find that. Well, that appears to be the problem. Cheap chisel. She's just totally shattered. Look. Shattered here, but before she shattered, it's actually completely mushroomed and dented on the very end. That's meant to be flat. She's actually dished it. So this is all splayed out. You actually see where it's heated up, look, as well. Completely mushroomed it. That's not been heat treated at all. That was the problem. There's all the leftover bits of the chisel. Completely crushed. Look. Little flakes, no chunks left. So I'll also just give that a quick wee wash out as well. See if we can poke that ball out. There must be something jamming that too. There we go. So they're not broken. They must have been jammed up. Now the chisel is definitely cheap. It's not been manufactured very well. Not heat treated. But the tool holder obviously is. Now they give it a couple of wee slaps there. And it didn't chip or dent the tool holder at all though. That's properly hardened there. Not a thing wrong with it. So the machine's good. Just the chisel's not. Chisels general, if you're buying a cheap or expensive tool, always buy good quality bits and chisels. This here just ain't worth the hassle. Buy a cheap one and they're not hardened properly. You're just going to break your heart and break your tool. Pay an extra euro and you get twice the quality. Bosch, you get twice the last out of it. It's hardened properly, it won't wear out as fast. That on there. Just put a wee dab on there too, just in case there's anything left inside. It'll help expel it. And a nice simple tool holder mechanism, same as the old hammers. It's just a plastic sleeve with a metal ring. Whenever it's sitting up, the metal ring jams the balls. Whenever it's down, they can move free. Tight squeeze. Now, does it still work is the question. Chisel goes in, stays in, comes out. Does the hammer still function? Lovely. Nice cheap fix on a cheap machine. Most professional tools. What a name. I should have just stuck MPT and not put that on it. That's her. Up and running again. Just the chisel removed. Now, first of the Makitas. The Makita impactor. I think this is the DTD 152. Yeah. That's a switch. It's not going to be worth fixing. Switching these things now are about €70. Just not worth it for the price of the machine. Buy these a lot cheaper now. It's definitely not the brushes. Brushes are well worn down though. They're not gone completely, but they have done a good bit of work. Had a drop as well. It's all dented in, crushed. If you push the switch up this way, works no problem, because you're pushing it down onto the contacts more. We just use it normally. It's missing. But yeah, definitely a switch. Wouldn't be worth it anyway just for the switch, but the rest of the damage as well, the age, the wear and tear. So yeah, it's just not going to be worth it at all. €70 for a switch, and I think you can buy these here for about €95. Doesn't really make sense now at this stage. Well, they used to be €70. I think they're down now to about €50 to buy, but once you put labour and VAT on top of that, it's still too expensive. So leave that one. Next up, we have another Makita, another cheap and cheerful one too. DHP 42. This is actually from the same crowd. Same thing. Maybe not. It looks like a set of brushes by the looks of it. Might get away with that one. Lift up the little springs. Lifting the spring just makes it quicker and easier to fit. We holder for them, so may as well use them. Brushes totally gone. You can tell this one hasn't been making contact. Look, it's just been burning and arcing. Brushes should fix this. Drop them in. Re-engage your spring. And that should be it. Simplest, easiest repair you can do. Look at that. 2017. Still running full power. Ran through one set of brushes. And that's the new set on. That's her. Quick and easy. Now, it's not a mess. It's an oldie. So I just fitted a white lead onto this. This is an old Makita planer with a horrible white lead fitted. This is the 1901 Makita planer from, what's that? 1995. 30 years old, this one. That is an old one. Question is, does it still work? How could you even use a planer with a lead like that? Surely it's going to kink on you and you're going to end up cutting it. Let's see what she does here. A fart. You get them the odd time on camera. Normally I miss it. Is it a bad lead, bad wiring job, or blown capacitor? Still smoking. Capacitor it is. It's one of the older type capacitors. When they fail, they generally just go with a bang. Luckily that wasn't so much of a bang, more of a pop. The old paper ones, whenever they blow and you plug them on and switch them on, they can really bang. Scare the absolute crap out of you. What you do here, if this happens to you, it's very technical. You get a pair of pliers and you cut it out, and that's all there is to it. That's just a wee grounding wire back there. Pull it out and forget about it. Because she's blowing, she's going to short out and bang every time you switch it on. The only thing that is doing is reducing electrical noise. It's a noise suppression capacitor, so whatever electrical noise this is generating from the universal motor, whenever she's actually spinning, she can put backfeed back into the sockets. So if you're running any delicate equipment, this can interfere. So unless you're bothered about your radio getting a wee bit of interference, or if you have something like, you know, CAT scan machine or oscilloscope or something for really high-tech electrical engineering, you wouldn't worry too much about it. For normal domestic use or on a building site, cut them out, forget about them. The thing will run perfectly without it. At worst, you might annoy some man listening to the radio. You can also replace them if you want, but I never do. And I would say if you rang up a supplier for a capacitor, you'd be waiting a long time because nobody ever orders them in. So at least it wasn't this man's fault. It wasn't the lead that caused that. It's just age. Now what you see what she runs like. Still nothing. And I just blown this fuse. Nope, it's not the fuse. Don't worry too much about that lead either. She's a double insulated, or a type 2, class 2 double insulated machine. Doesn't need an earth. The original lead will only have a live and a neutral. There wouldn't have been an earth on it. That's right, we're going back in this side. See why she popped. Or to see what the pop caused, more like. Live works. Neutral works. Switch works. Right, so that's working. Why is that not switching on? Oh, I don't believe you. Check the simple stuff first, why don't you? Check the fuse and the plug, but it didn't check my own trip. Breaker went above me. That's why it's not running. Should have copped that one. That was a bit of extra time wasted for no reason whatsoever. Try it again. The breaker on. That's her. One 30-year-old Makita planer, just with an old capacitor blown on it. That would have been a 2-minute repair if I hadn't went looking at the wrong thing. But I do not like that lead. They just kink and roll up, and they're wild hard to work with, and wild hard to even just roll up again. Too hard, not flexible at all. You wouldn't even want to use that as an extension lead. But there's nothing wrong with it. Can't go changing it just because I don't like it. That's her. One Makita 1901 up and running again. Hopefully this man will get another 30 years work out of it. Right, this one, Bosch cordless saw. Might need to do a little bit of exploratory surgery on this one. Don't know what's going on here. She's running. But she's starting and stopping with a wee bit of a grinding noise. Don't know if that's just the electronic brake or not. Gears seem to be okay. It's turning free. Doesn't appear to be catching on anything. Apart from bits of cement here on the guard, but that's not making the noise. Right. To see what's going on here, give a wee test cut here first. Now it stopped making the noise. Don't know what's going on here. First thing, we'll just give it a quick wee blow down. Get rid of this dust before we start. Right, that's for a little bit cleaner. Just a bit odd actually. Why did it stop doing it after I cut? Oh, unless it's actually something very simple and I'm overlooking. Could be actually. It's only doing starting and stopping. Right, so that's to do with the brake. Yep. Is it? Yeah, it is. Here's the problem there. That's the lock on to lock the blade. Blade's still moving. That's what the problem is. Wrong blade. Or else incorrectly fitted. We'll see what this one is. Sometimes it can just be the blade the man's fitted, or sometimes the blade might come with a wee packing flange. And they stick everything in, not knowing that the packing flange is only for certain models of saws. Bolt seems tight enough anyway. See what I mean? What is he doing with that? So, two problems. Wrong blade with the wrong center. And he has this fitted to hold this blade. It's called a wee backing flange or a packing ring or something, wee washer. It's just one cut to the outside diameter of some blades, 30mm. To either 16 or 20 for the different diameters of blade holders, simply so you can fit different size blades to different saws. Problem with this though is one, the backing flange, well, it's not too much bigger, it's around the same size as the blade, so this is more than likely just clamping this backing flange or this packing ring and not the blade, allowing the blade to spin. Or what can sometimes happen, that's probably the case here, this wee packing ring is only big enough to hold the front flange. So the flange is only clamping this and not the blade. If you're unsure about a blade, put a blade on and it doesn't work right, take it off and change it. Get the one with the right center. That's the problem here. He's bought a cheaper blade, the Olympics one. Grand, it does the job, but unless it's the right bore size, it's not going to work right. That's all clamping the blade. All the clamping force has gone onto this steel washer, or this packing washer. That's all that's wrong. I've actually seen boys fitting these, getting the right size of blade, and coming with these here and still fitting it in, so that these are just clamping on the flange only and not the blade, and then wondering what's going on. Doesn't need that, and this blade's no good to him. We'll get the right size blade for this. I wonder sometimes with blades what is going on. Freud blade, 165, 20mm bore. This one's only a 24 tooth, the last one was a 30 tooth. But still, don't have this brand up there, but I have Virus blades and a few other ones up there, going from 25 to 49 euro for roughly the size. Some of them are for plunge saws, some are for cordless ones. This is for the cordless. These can sometimes be more expensive because they need to be a thin kerf, thin blade, thin teeth on it. So the teeth cut down to 1.7 and the blade diameter is 1.3. You don't want to put anything thicker on because there's only a cordless saw, won't have the power to cut. Thinner the blade, the more power there is to actually cut. It takes less resistance to cut with it. But that Freud blade, a good quality professional Freud blade, $18.50. And the cheaper brands up there, some of them are coming in more expensive. The Makita version of this here is costing over 45 euro. I mean, I would expect the Makita one to be cheaper than a Freud. But no, cheapest blade for this job, but also, to me, one of the best quality ones. Sometimes it just doesn't pay to buy the cheaper ones. They can sometimes just work out more expensive, especially when you have to put on a wee center flange to actually get it to pack out. Now, it's a better fit, and the blade is actually bigger than the flange. So now whenever this clamps down, it clamps down only on the blade. Honestly, around 30% of repairs on cordless and corded saws that I do, 30% of the ones that come in is always to do just with the blade. Either incorrectly fitted, wrong blade, or just with a silly wee mistake where the wee flange has been put on or something. Because sometimes you can actually, like the Makitas and the cordless ones, sometimes the flange can actually go both ways, so you can either fit a 16 center or a 30mm center. Somebody might just put it together wrong. But honestly, about 30% is just to do with the blade being fitted wrong. That should cure this problem. You've got a good quality blade, and it's locked in, and no more noise. Plus it'll actually cut way better. It's a sharper blade, but it's thinner than this one. Not even sure what the kerf diameter is in this. I think it's about 2.2. Good for a plunge saw, not as good for a cordless saw. Thinner one's way better for these here. That's her. A very easy fix after all. I thought I was going to have to strip this whole thing down and see what the problem was. I thought it might have been gears. But nope. Once again, incorrectly fitted blade. Try to squeeze every kind of brand on here. DeWalt's turn. This one is just riddled with problems. One, that switch is failing. Two, the actual tool holder. The gearbox head's starting to fail, the steel bush is worn out, and the actual spindle for the tool holder, the anvil itself, is worn out on the steel bush. So that's flapping around in the breeze, but it's still working. That's not the problem though. Also, LEDs aren't working either. Still, that's not what he's left it on for. He's only left it on for this. It's not holding the butt. The rest wouldn't really be worth fixing it anyway, but he can still use it. Don't know if it's his main one or a spare, but it's a lot harder to use if it doesn't hold a bit, so he just wants this fixed. Luckily, this is extremely common and extremely easy to do on the DeWalt. Well, I did fit a bigger clip here, so it's a little bit harder to get off, but it's not that much harder. Get a flat blade screwdriver, so there'll be flat spot here. Move this over, open end over to the flat spot, Get in behind it then. Get your screwdriver behind there then. Prise it up. So you've got your clip, washer, spring, sleeve. And that's the only problem. A little spring that breaks inside. And that's just holding up the steel ball. Very common, very cheap and easy to fix. The only problem now is, where did I put the spares? I have them down here, but I'm pretty sure I moved them. There we go. Yeah, that's them there. That's the part number there. If you're ever looking for one, type this in online into Google. You'll soon find plenty of places selling them. N437890. They cost about $2.50 plus the VAT. I think you can get these on Amazon now. The Milwaukee has the same sort of setup. It can also fail quite often, but nowhere near as much as the DeWalt. Makitas actually give very little trouble. I would assume that Makitas would have failed more often. So it's just this little end of the DeWalt spring that holds the ball, eventually wears away and drops off, and it just misses the ball completely. But very easy to fix. It's not going to look good after it's finished, but at least it'll hold the drill bit. Lift that little leg up, drop it down, put the wee leg piece under the hole. Just a wee dab of grease on there too. Pull down the spring, put the ball on top, and just reassemble. Sleeve, spring, washer, and this is the awkward bit. Getting the clip back on top while it's holding down the spring and the washer. Get one end first and drag it round, and that's it. One DeWalt impact driver. That's worn out, but still holding the bit at least. I mean, look at that. But he doesn't want the fix like that. He just wants it holding the bit. So, that's that one, ready to go. Milwaukee's turn. Milwaukee jigsaw. M18 BGS. I think this one's a screw fix special. 2020. Now this was left in by somebody else that doesn't own the machine. Dropped it in for somebody else. What the message to say, he knows it's expensive to fix, but he wants to fix it. So he must know there's something obviously wrong with it. We'll soon see. Milwaukee's, the way they group assemblies can sometimes just be too expensive to fix. See, it is actually working there, but it's not. So, motor's working because it's running. But either the controller or the switch isn't working. We'll just open it and see. I don't think there's any point in opening this, but I suppose we don't know if we don't look. Wee hidden screw under there. Now at least these can be quickly opened to have a peek. honestly, this crowd Milwaukee actually sent me a jigsaw, a cordless jigsaw as well, to test out, and I've been using the weight it. I have more faith in the Milwaukee one than I would have in these here. These feel good in the hand and they're nice and big, but to be honest, not that great. And I can show you why. Bearing in mind these things cost around €220. We Milwaukee one, what, 50 or 60 euro it costs? DC motor inside. The Milwaukee one, like I was saying, brushless motor, it's already winning. Old tech DC motor, at least you can buy it separately from the controller, but this is the problem. Same switch as Milwaukee always uses, and a completely opened board inside. Something on this has failed. More than likely one of the MOSFETs. It's actually a little bit warm to the touch. One of them has failed, and now whenever you pull the trigger, it's not running the MOSFET to actually give variable speed. It's coming on and just shutting down again. You can check the wires all you want. That's the problem. And these things, they're just not great. Even the tool holder, everything that could fail in this here, it's going to be costing you at least €100. Motor costs 100, the base cost close to it. Tool holder cost that there. That's another grip assembly. Maybe the actual plastic body will be cheaper to replace, but it shouldn't fail the amount of reinforcing and that. It's made to be feeling really solid, but inside there's a lot to be desired. I'll price this and see, but I don't think this is going to be worth it. Nah, I'm just not doing this. For me to just sell him this part, that's costed about 95 or €100, just for me to sell it to him. By the time I put labour and VAT onto it, it's going to be costing way more than half the price of the machine, just for this here. 2020 machine, so it's 5 years old, but the main reason I'm not doing it, because it's done absolutely nothing. Grease has barely even been moved on it. If you look in here, don't know if you can see that. You can see the armature in the back of there. Let's see if I can zoom in here. There's your armature in there. You see the actual brass comb bars and the brushes on top. See the wee teeth on the brushes down to the left there. And then the marks on the armature, 3 little lines. They're the brushes. They're the teeth of the wee jaw marks on the brush when they're brand new. So when a brush is brand new, they come with these little teeth, little points, little sawtooth basically. That's just to make good contact with the armature. And so as the armature is rubbing past, because there's only a small contact point, very tip of the brush basically, they wear away very, very quickly. And they make the shape of the armature so it gets good contact then in the future. That lasts no time. That's a fresh brush, albeit these ones are a bigger tooth on it. But as you can see, there's only 3 little lines in that. The actual shape of the brush is still there. That thing has barely even been running for a few minutes. It's 5 years old, probably used just a handful of times, only for a few minutes for its total life, and it's blowing that controller. I'm not going to throw in 100, 120, 130 euro bill to fix this here and to potentially only run for 20 or 30 minutes again. It's not going to be worth it. And then if he were to come back with it burnt out again, that controller gone again, it's going to end up costing us shop money. So the best thing to do there is to just say no. It ain't worth fixing. Milwaukee don't want you to fix it, so why should we? That's ridiculous here. It's a good solid feel machine, but the insides ain't the same. At least the Milwaukee is dirt cheap. If it failed, you could just dump it and buy another one for even less than the price of this thing. You'd actually probably buy 2 of them for the price of that part. I always recommend the Makita stuff because you can buy all the parts inside. A cookie as well. The tabos don't be big entry jigsaws, but might be the same ones as the cookies anyway. DeWalt with the same crack as this. Motor is going to be one piece. That, I just think's a disaster. 5 years old, barely been used. The controller's cooked. Unless you want to cut things like that. Nah, no joy with that thing. You might want it fixed, but it's too high a risk for me. I'm going to leave that one. Right, back to the DeWalts. This one is a DeWalt SDS drill. DCH273 is the brushless version. And the customer says to price it first before you fix it. And that could be awkward. Or not awkward, but a bit annoying. Well, two things annoying about this one. One, he wants it priced first. So I think I might know the problem, but to find out what the exact problem is, to give him a price, you have to open it all up and do all the work before actually fixing it. Which could be pointless, because if he doesn't want to fix it, you've just wasted your time anyway. I think this might actually be a simple problem though. It's working. Nothing's jamming up, that's the main thing. When the crank brakes in these, they generally jam. Not even rotation will work. You'll just hear a hum out of the motor. This is running, because you can hear the hammer section is just running smooth. And there's a little bit of vibration out of it. It's not balanced or something. That's because the actual conrod pin is probably broken inside. So the top of the crank goes around. There's a wee conrod pin that sits on top that flexes around and moves the piston back and forth. They sometimes snap. I think that's what's wrong here. But also, the switch isn't really the best. That's starting to fail too. Was it worth fixing this when this is starting to go? Don't know. We'll have to open it up and see to make sure it does that. If it is just a pin, I'm going to go ahead and fix it anyway, because they're not all that expensive and it'll be a cheap and easy fix. If they haven't shattered, it might even get away with just actually replacing it without washing all this out. But then you just got to hope the customer will actually pay it. Because there's only so little you can pay to actually fix these things. There's only so many things that go wrong in these DeWalts. You're not exactly going to get a cheaper fix than the wee conrod. I'll have to just go ahead with it. It's not like there's a set of brushes on it that sometimes go and you can just easily fix them. Even the piston is more expensive than that little conrod. So I'll strip it, fix it if that's the problem, and give him a ring. See if he's happy about it. Screws out. Pull down over here. Actually, this has never been opened before either. It's a fresh repair. Wouldn't be unusual to get these on several times over throughout the years. This is the first time. It's a 2019 machine as well, so it's not all that fresh. It's got a good bit of time out of this one. Push that down and pull this up to release these pins in here. And I should just pull up. That's that snagging on. There we go. Pull that up, pull out these springs. We'll just give us a quick wee blow with the compressor to get rid of some of the dust. Sometimes I would wash these things all out as well before dismantling this, but I can't even tell if I'm going to fix this or not. I don't want to waste any more time on it. Prise that up. It should just lift off. There's the spring. It connects on to the broken con rod. There'll be a washer in there too, but we'll go searching for that in a minute. Here's the problem right there. Broken con rod. You can tell because whenever this comes off completely, the crank's then unbalanced, and you can feel the vibrations in your hand. Take that out. Take out the rest. Wee ball. And there's the washer. Still intact too. So we'll get away with just a straight swap here. It's done quite a bit of work. It is a little bit black inside. Bit of fresh grease will keep this running. Main thing is what's the piston like. Surprisingly, still good. Give that a quick wee wash. I'll change this O-ring as well. And the actual piston, we'll clean that. But that looks like they've gotten away with it as well. Clean a few wee pieces here just to tidy it up. But I'll leave the rest of this. Wouldn't be happy about it, but I was not really willing to fix it. I don't want to go throwing more money at it. The wee pin's cheap enough. And the O-ring's fairly cheap. Then just a bit of grease will keep this cost down and still be worth doing. I'll get it running again and hammering right without breaking the bank. Ball pin, as we want there. 1950 for that. And a wee O-ring. And we also need a spring. I think that's on another box. And that boy there. The other one's just a little bit bent. So that should get this yoke up and running. I'd like us to say I don't actually like these machines, but, well, in fairness, I don't actually like these machines. I'm sick to death of actually opening them up and getting into them. But, in fairness, quality-wise, how long they last, they're not all that bad, to be honest. You can do quite a bit of work if you're using them right. There's a reason why they're popular. There's a lot of boys buy these things and use them all the time. A perfect example, there's a boy around here that was actually using them for coring concrete. Using either a 4 or a 6-inch diamond core to go into concrete walls. And in fairness, they were defective concrete walls. Here in Donegal, a big scandal with Makita. Concrete manufacturer was using bad material, bad aggregate for making concrete blocks for the last 20 years. And there's thousands of houses now in Donegal that have to be torn down because of defective blocks. They call it Weedebeck blocks. But he was doing testing for them with a core, and he was actually using one of these for a while just to test to see if the houses had the defective blocks. Literally, it sounds more impressive than what it is, but the blocks, they're literally that bad. You can just break them with your hand. You went up to the corner of the house and just grabbed the corner and tore. You can literally just break off a piece of the concrete and crumble it in your hand like dust. They call them Weedebeck blocks. Big massive scandal here in Donegal with them. Place is absolutely wrecked with it. Scandal with the company that's actually closed, and scandal with the government. Everybody trying to get compensation to get the houses rebuilt because the government knew it was going on and did nothing to stop it. Allowed the company to self-regulate. That's all still going on up here. Still loads of houses with it. Loads have to be torn down. Literally, the outside of the houses are all cracking away and falling to pieces. Houses made of concrete blocks. Concrete, solid concrete, like that there wall. Literally. Houses made of that. But the defective mica ones, if you just did that tape, they would literally, you would just score a big gouge in the wall. The mica's getting wet and expanding and actually breaking all the concrete till there's actually nothing left. There's no integrity on it. The whole house swells up, everything cracks and starts falling apart. The whole eaves of the house will start to fall away. There's so many affected. If you do anything with a house now in Donegal, basically you have to test for mica, check. So if you're looking to buy, you're not going to buy anything from the last 20 years unless you test for mica. Anybody with the house wanted to know as well. It costs thousands to actually do a proper test. So a couple of boys just going around taking cores and doing a preliminary test. They weren't doing an actual test. They were just doing a vague idea to let you know if you could have mica. They were taking a core to the wall to see how soft or hard the blocks were. That's what he was doing. So if he was doing a 4 or 6 inch core, he was actually doing it one of these here, coring on, taking out the core for the outer leaf and seeing what it was like. But I was actually doing it with this here. I couldn't tell you how many houses he done. He wasn't doing actual sampling, he wasn't taking a bunch of them, he was only doing one the odd time. But it did it, even though it was still mica. It's a massive problem here now. Even with ourselves, we're actually trying to sell our old house, trying to upgrade, trying to get somewhere bigger, because 2 boys in a house with 1 bathroom just ain't going to work out too well in the future. They're small now, but they're going to get bigger. So we're trying to upgrade, get somewhere a wee bit bigger, but for our budget I was hoping on getting somewhere to renovate, to keep the cost down. Also do a couple of videos on it, renovation job for YouTube or something. Thought it'd be a handy job, but because of mica, anybody with an old house, if you're buying, the older houses now are going for more money than a new house because they're less risk. So anywhere needing a renovation is selling for silly money. That's just putting everybody out of the market for it. So literally the last day we were seeing a house, looked good, full renovation job on it, only a bungalow. By the time it sells, it could be easily about $250,000. So it makes us buying a house a lot more difficult. But if you ever look it up, Google it, mica Donegal Weedebeck blocks, to think houses here are made out of this here stuff, it's just unbelievable. And if you actually see the way it breaks apart in your hand, you'll see how this was actually able to core it. It's crazy, and it's still ongoing. Still a lot of people have to have their houses tore down and rebuilt because of it. My actual brother-in-law has actually had his house tumbled already and rebuilt, thankfully. He was straight on the ball, he knew it was a fake Nazi, so he got straight on it. But literally when they were tearing the house down, he took a video of it and showed me. Just went up to the door, the front door of the house, where they're starting to actually take the frame away. And he took the hammer and started slapping onto the frame of the door, frame around the actual door of the house. Literally, you'd had a block and you could just hear it ping and the hammer bounce off. Then you go to the next block up and hit it, and the hammer would just literally sink into the block. Just be buried into it as that soft. Then go up to the next block, ding, hard as a rock. And that's what makes it so tricky for a lot of people. Some of the house could be built with some blocks, and other blocks could be affected. The problem was the company making the blocks were manufacturing them, and other companies were manufacturing blocks. They could have been delivering it to one part of the Donegal. Instead of going back with an empty load, they could have been picking up the blocks from the defective crowd that they didn't know about, unknowns to them, and taking them back to their yard to save an empty trip, and then supplying them blocks. So there was problems where people bought blocks from the good manufacturers, but still ended up with bad blocks. So there could be mica blocks and houses all over the place, even when they were bought with the good ones. The problem is going to be going on for years. There's literally houses here worth 2, 3, 4, 500,000 euro and have to be demolished. So nobody wants to take a risk on a new built house in the last 20 years. So there's no cert or test already done it. They're not buying it. But if the house is over 20 years old, 25 or 30 years, or like my own house, an old council house or something, they're going for silly money because they know they're made of solid blocks. And of course, no, you can't go out and buy one of the houses for cheap that has mica, because if you buy it and it has mica, you get nothing. If there's a scheme going to rebuild, you won't be part of it. because you've bought it knowing that it's defective. Nobody wants the houses. Squeeze this all back in again. Hopefully he'll actually want to pay for this now, but it shouldn't be too expensive. That was all it was done. But not cleaning it out does keep the price down a little bit. The piston had been bad or worn, it would have had to be cleaned out, but because that was a clean break, should get away with it. Match that wee metal plate there. Make sure it slides in. That's the actual bottom of the battery the catch grabs onto instead of the plastic. Must have done this repair countless times now. That, changing the crank, changing the piston, changing the actual ram inside, striker bolt. Everything requires to be stripped apart. Can do the work, but it's a pain to work on. If you're looking for a cordless SDS drill and you're on the DeWalt platform, it actually has a good option. Much better. Just square hammering now. No bother here. One wee ball pin, spring, grease and an O-ring gets her up and running again. Hopefully cheap enough you'll actually pay for it. Now it's time for a real oldie. A proper oldie, an old school Makita. This is a Makita N910 from 1994. 31 years old. That thing's done quite a bit of work. And with the original plug too. Still the same lead and same moulded plug. Let's see what's wrong with this one. Right, a very big grinding disc on this thing. And a very fresh looking one at that. Nice taft disc. But I don't think I'll be switching this one on. There's something seriously wrong in there. I don't think this one will be fixed somehow. These are a light duty 4.5 inch Makita grinder in their time. Good enough machine for lighter stuff, but wouldn't do massive amounts. But obviously weren't too bad because clearly they lasted. But there's something. Yeah, definitely something gone inside of this thing. Something blowing apart, I would imagine. There's something rattling. Just a plastic case with a motor and gears set into it. No big aluminium head. Very odd looking for a 4.5 inch grinder. Not even a lock button or anything for getting the blade off. Take them off without the lock button. You need two things. You need your spanner and a skinny 17mm spanner. He's actually got a came with a wee skinny one anyway, but obviously this one doesn't have it left with it. I know it's in grinding this, but that's very heavy for the size of the machine. I don't think this is going to be worth fixing, but it's worth a look for an old machine. Never know, might be something simple. No, it's not. Look at that. Not the pillow inside, that's the capacitor. That's an old paper one that's ready to blow. It's ready to pop there. That's not the problem. If that goes, it'll just bang and scare you. This is the problem. She's completely blowing the armature apart. Look. Blew out the bits. Blew off the comb bar, the whole thing. Destroyed the brushes and the brush holder. And I take it apart of the housing as well. Yeah, the housing and the brush holder as well. That's all damaged. That is not going to be worth fixing. She's just done too much. And that bit not come out. Wouldn't have mattered if I had switched this thing on anyway. It was not going to run. Yeah, that's a new armature needed. That can be cut out, but a new brush holder and that as well. More than likely be damaged onto the field too. The windings might have been jammed up or cut up a little bit. But that's what the old machine was looking like. Motor, little angled gear head up the top, all held into a plastic body. Can't say it was bad because it obviously did the work, especially for the last, what, 31 years. That thing, it's just for the bin now. Curiosity has been satisfied. You can probably actually still get the armature for this. You could fix it if you wanted to. Might be a nice wee keepsake for the age of it. But it's not going to pay me to do it. And the boy that left it on, I wouldn't say he'd want to pay that kind of money. She's a nice wee machine, but it's probably not worth putting that kind of money into it. What is that? Oh, that way. I wonder if it was the big heavy grinding dust that done it. Damage is done now anyway. She's broken and she's not worth fixing. But still, cool little tool to actually see inside of. An old Makita N9 10 4.5 inch grinder. 31 years of work done. Now, at the end of our days. Next, we'll go with another Makita. This is the older heavy duty brushed machine, the DHP 458. I actually have about 3 of these myself, but don't use them as much anymore. Don't do as much heavier work with timber and that. Great when they were new, not as good now with more brushless stuff coming on. And that's generally why. Brushless motors probably are the end of these things. Mainly because brushless have more power and a lot of people are getting more used to using brushless stuff, so this becomes more common. Motors burnt out of it. Good for high power, but for prolonged use, the brushed motor generally just makes too much heat until it eventually burns out. They're grand if you know how to use them and you don't push them too much, which I've had mine for a long time. Driving onto wet timber and that, with whole hogs, with augers and that, never had a bother, never burnt one out. But when you get too used to brushless stuff and you're able to do more work, run them for longer, and go back to one of these here, you just can't, to be honest. Brushless stuff generally, it's just winning now. I mean, these here wee things I'm using all the time. I wouldn't even take out a heavier duty drill. These are nowhere near the same power. Might be a brushless motor in this thing, but it's only a small 10mm chuck. nowhere near the power in this here. If you're buying the heavy duty Makita ones, I would go for the bigger brushless ones instead of these here. These were good for a stage. You could buy them for about €100, but even still they went back up in price again, so I think there's about €150 or €160 to buy now. A little bit cheaper than the brushless, heavier duty brushless ones, but for that little bit extra I would just go with the brushless. But I still do like these machines. I just don't like repairing common motor fault on them whenever they burn out. But at least they can be fixed. This one's only 2022, so it should be worth putting a new motor onto it, as long as the feel doesn't go on. The only advantage of this one over the modern brushless ones, these ones never really had a problem with the gearbox or the chuck. The modern heavy duty brushless ones that you get now, you can remember the models of them, there's a few different models. Some of them can have bother in the gearbox. So that feels okay, still plenty of power. The motor might look okay, but that's gone. Resin cracking a little bit there. You can't really tell with a cordless machine when the motor's gone, but you can tell when the brush ring and brushes are gone. You see they're melted. The brushes are probably cracked. So replace the brushes, replace the brush holder, and replace the armature. That'll get this running again. It'll still be worth doing. I'll just give that a wee spit shine just to clean it up. It's a wee bit dirty inside, nothing major, but it's not hard to just clean it out a little bit. That's the armature there. You would need one, 25 plus the VAT. These actually come down a little bit in price. So they are a little bit more worth fixing when they do burn out. Switch, mind you, if it goes, that's a little bit more expensive. Now make sure you put these on right. Black goes to the top. If you put them on the opposite way around, you'll reverse your switch. The only awkward thing about this is just getting this lead bent back. It's too long and has to curl over a little bit. So it has to just go back here first and then pull back for this to fit. Now that's just like the DeWalt. As a repair I've done many times before, but this would be more common for me because we're doing them under warranty and that. Mind you, don't get too many under warranty now. You're getting this done, it wouldn't sell as many. Anybody buying them new at risk of actually burning them out is more than likely going to buy the heavier, where am I at? More than likely going to buy the heavier duty brushless version. Sticking on the wrong armature. That's the one I want. These pins as well used to be a lot tighter. I think it's only the modern ones now become very slack for some reason. They actually hold two halves of the gearbox together, and as you can see, they're just flapping out. Housing hold them together now. They used to be tight enough to actually fit on and not come out at all. Make this very simple repair, but a little bit more awkward. You have to balance them as well. You have to do it on its side basically. Take all these screws out to wash it. Lastly, new brushes into the new brush holder. Problem with these is they're just a universal motor. They're brushes and they're heavy duty. Because it's a heavy duty machine, always use it very heavy and lean on it. All the extra amps that can come out of that battery goes through these brushes, and these get hot. These get hot, the brush holder gets hot. That's all fine, but the brush holder is held in by plastic. So once it gets hot enough, the plastic melts under the brush holder, which then melts under the brush. Jam them up, stopping the machine. These are just a point of contact, so they take the maximum load. The first thing to melt when they take too much load, as we're a brushless machine, it's so much better. No contact. So instead of the brushes sitting here, transferring the power into the armature to magnetize different segments of the armature to repel against the field inside. Whenever it moves around, gets repelled, energizes the next two segments, energizes that and keeps being repelled. The more it moves, the more it keeps being repelled, because the actual parts of the armature have been magnetized as it rotates. So it's always constantly trying to be repelled against the permanent magnet of the field. But with a brushless machine, it's computer controlled. Instead of the armature changing polarity or being magnetized at different times, the armature is a permanent magnet and the field is what's actually changing. And it's changing because there's a controller telling the field which segment to energize at exactly the right time. There's no contact. No friction means they can run harder, longer, generate less heat. But because it's computer controlled, the computer can tell when they're being overloaded and shut down accordingly. That's a lot of the time why you get a brushless Makita drill. If you put it up against like a DeWalt or a Milwaukee, they'll generally drive more stuff because there's more safeties built into the Makita ones generally. They program the machines to shut down sooner compared to the other ones to save it from being burnt out or destroyed. Good feature, bad feature, that's generally why I think that happens. That's the main difference between them, and that's why these here generally will go through more motors. But that should be her. One Makita DHP 458 with a brand new armature, brush holder and brushes. She's an older type drill. There's still plenty of power in them things. I still like these here. They're a nice size and a nice weight. The bigger ones again, the older ones were even better, but they're very long and a bit cumbersome. I always like these ones. Loads of power, good gearbox, decent motor, and obviously whenever I was getting them they had the lithium batteries, but everything's lithium now. That's her, ready to work. Another one ready. Now, last one for today. I seen this out on the shelf to begin with and I thought I'd keep this to last because it'll be a nice simple one to end up on, and I'll be able to end the video up perfectly just at the end of the day because this will be nice and simple. But I've just noticed what's actually wrong with this, and this might not be as simple as what I thought. This is the DTD 152 chuck in pieces in a bottle attached to the side of it. I just assumed some man broke the chuck and left all the parts on here. At least the bits is there. It was just a matter of putting it back together again. But I've just seen that's not the case. He's got a bit stuck inside and it's actually deep down inside. So we dismantled this to try and get the broken bit out. And you see he's tried to drill it as well, but obviously getting nowhere. So the question is now, can I get this out nice and quick before 6 o'clock and get it rebuilt? Sometimes they'll tap forward That's doing nothing. We'll try put a bit of air from the air compressor down. Sometimes that can blow it out. Right, that did absolutely nothing. I'm not even going to bother trying to drill it out anymore. And bits are generally very hard. End up just breaking more bits until you're basically out the price of the tool holder anyway. So we'll dismantle, see if we can get it out from the back. Some of these Makitas, the actual anvil, the tool holder here, some of them had a little pin or circlip on the back. So you could pull out the circlip to get to the very back so you could push something through. Some of them did, but I don't know which. Can't remember which one had it now, and it's not like it's on the breakdown diagram telling you which one has it. This here's just one piece. So we'll dismantle it and see if it can come out this way. If not, I might just replace it. Sometimes if they break further up, especially if they're sticking out at all, you can actually just get a grinder and cut a wee track in it to get a grip. When they break all the way down here, it's a lot more difficult. Put that in the vise. Sometimes these can be just very, very tight, especially for an aluminium housing. I think 32mm spanner to get this boy off. I'll just use that end actually. This will sometimes just deform the aluminium. Take the whole thing out. Nah, it ain't this one anyway. Some of them they had a little circlip down in there, and you could get to the back of it. But this is solid, so I can't get on to push that out. How else could I get that out of there? Suppose the only other way is to just bang it. Before I was hitting, hoping the momentum would just drive it back. But if I actually drive it down the right way, maybe. Might shift. Is it moving? It is moving. I think it's nearly out. Did not think that was going to work. Oh, can I get it the final way now? There we go. So awkward when they snap off down there. A little bit of perseverance, you can get them out. Even when you think they're a lost cause. Get this back together again now. And get wrapped up for home time. Put that in. Stick your anvil back in. Oh, just knocked everything out. Just put a touch of grease on, nothing much. A few pea-size amounts, that's it. And hopefully, just drop this all back on. That couldn't have went smoother. Nice one. I just have to rebuild tool holder. Just give that a wee spin, make sure it's going on right. Sometimes you can install that gear and that'll be slightly off centre, so there's a wee bit of a wobble to it. You want to find out if there is before you assemble it. Just pull that boyo out. Get your motor and brush ring and everything fitted. Armature your field down, and then reinstall that wee spring. It's just a lead for static is all it is. It has to be pressed against the field. If you put the field in first, it'll just press on top of that and stop it going on. That was a bit easier than I thought. For a second there, I thought I was going to have to replace the whole tool holder just for a broken bit, which I have done before, but it's normally because somebody's tried to like weld a bolt or something onto it, and I just welded the whole tool holder together, which I have seen happen. Normally when they break off like that, there's always a way to get it out. It takes some time, a little bit of disassembling, but you can normally do it. But you can still also just replace the whole tool holder if you can't get it out. A little bit of grease. Steel ball, sleeve, spring, washer, then clip. These ones are a little bit easier than the DeWalt. DeWalt has a big heavy clip on it. This one's a little bit lighter, so you can generally just get it in with your fingernail. That's it. One Makita impactor with a broken, looks like a magnetic holder end, taken out of the tool holder. Pop her out, gets her running again. And unlike the DeWalt one, the gearbox housing, the steel bush inside of here isn't worn out, nor is the actual anvil as well, the shaft and that, so there's not much play in the butt. It's not wobbling all over like the DeWalt one was, which had obviously done more work. But this one's actually an older tool. 2011 this thing is. That's actually a brave age. That's her, and that's it for today. One impactor up and running, and one bunch of tools all fixed. I think they were all fixed, weren't they? Or maybe one wasn't fixed. Anyway folks, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this long tool repair-a-thon video. That's all the tools that was taken into the workshop today, all one after the other. No splits, no picking and choosing. They're interesting, they went on. If they weren't interesting, they still went on. Luckily, they were all fairly good. It wasn't just too many leads and brushes put into them. But that's everything in a single day. Anyway folks, hope you enjoyed this wee tool repair video. If you're liking the videos, give us a wee like and a follow down below. As when I help out the channel, you can also hit that share button as well. Anyway folks, till next time, chat to you all later.